From the recently confirmed Chapter 5 of the John Wick franchise to the action-packed reign that'll have him playing yet another deadly assassin, these are the upcoming roles Keanu Reeves needs to be in. Lionsgate has finally greenlit John Wick Chapter 5, and I just can't see it working without Keanu. Chad Stahelski was supposed to shoot Chapters 4 and 5 back-to-back, but he decided against it for a few reasons. For starters, he felt like the project would have been too big to handle because he's worked with back-to-back filming before, and he didn't feel he could make it work as a director. What's more, Stahelski was cautious about making another John Wick movie just for the sake of it. Lionsgate sure wanted a few more moneymakers from the acclaimed director, but Chad only wanted to think about Chapter 5 once he had a good enough story to tell. Oh, and we should probably talk about the elephant in the room, but before we continue, spoiler alert for anyone that's yet to see Chapter 4. Don't say I didn't warn you. Okay, so John Wick dies at the end of Chapter 4, and in case you're hoping he survived, that funeral sequence clearly shows him getting laid to rest next to his wife. Winston even looks at his grave mournfully, bidding him a Russian farewell and even calling him his son. If anyone knows that John's still alive, it's Winston. So him looking so sad really drove the point home. It seems like John's dead for good, which begs the question, how the heck's Chad gonna handle this in Chapter 5? Sure, Chapter 4's spectacular box office returns prompted Lionsgate to greenlight the sequel. But one thing's for sure, Keanu Reeves has to come back for the 5th movie, unless Stahelski wants people to riot. You've gotta understand, Keanu's the face of the franchise, so the 5th installment's prospects will look kinda bleak if he doesn't return to the role. Now, it'll be tricky to handle after that death scene, but at the same time, we don't technically see John die. I mean, all we see is him collapsing to his side after his climactic battle with the Marquis. Wouldn't Chad have given us a classic death scene instead? Perhaps a scene where John looks up at the sky and closes his eyes, potentially even seeing a vision of his wife as he joins her in the afterlife. Sounds cheesy? Maybe. But it would have given a sense of finality to Wick's demise, and the glaring lack of a send-off makes me think that Baba Yaga's still got a few tricks up his sleeve. Besides, Keanu's already showing up in the upcoming spin-off titled Ballerina, which will give that downtrodden Ruska Roma dancer from Parabellum the spotlight. There's clearly still plenty of room for him in the John Wick franchise, but this is probably his most famous role ever. What about some other projects for a change? Well, Keanu's got plenty of that in store too, starting with the upcoming adaptation of his Berserker comic. Yep, you heard that right. Keanu Reeves writes comic books too. And in this project, he gives us a protagonist that really lives up to the hype. The eponymous Berserker is honestly one of the most compelling protagonists I've seen. He was born about 80,000 years ago, and it turns out he's half human, half god. Over the millennia, the violent main character goes through countless battles, and by the present day, he's shortened his name to B, and he started working for the US government as a hired gun. Now, there are at least 2 planned adaptations of his work. For starters, Netflix is reportedly working on a live-action film, and by October 2021, they already had Mattson Tomlin writing a script. Hardly anyone knows this, but Tomlin had a major role in drafting the Batman script. He didn't get credited for the work, but Matt Reeves certainly relied on his help, because he was hired specifically to assist him with script writing. That makes him a great choice to write the script for Berserker, and many fans hope Netflix had the good sense to cast Keanu in the lead role as well. And I get it, this is Netflix we're talking about, and they're kinda notorious for upsetting actors' fans. Just look at what they did to Henry Cavill. If they pull the same shtick with the Berserker film, something tells me fans are gonna lose their minds, and the whole project will come crashing down. Even if we ignore that Keanu wrote the damn thing, can you think of anyone else that'd fit the lead role better? I mean, the character was specifically drawn to look like him. Although luckily, Netflix confirmed that Keanu will play the lead role in both the adaptations. Apart from the live-action film, the streaming service is also adapting the comic as an anime series, and Keanu's reportedly gonna voice the lead character. Personally, I'm thrilled that we'll get to see Reeves bringing his passion project to life, because based on the interviews I've seen, he's poured his heart and soul into these comics. Now, the funny thing is, Keanu was inspired to create Berserker by another character he's always wanted to play, Wolverine, the most iconic member of the X-Men. Hugh Jackman's been playing the character for a couple decades now, making a comeback in Deadpool 3 after supposedly leaving the role behind him with Logan. Deadpool 3 is gonna be part of the MCU, which makes Hugh Jackman's Wolverine technically the official clawed mutant in that universe. But I'm willing to bet that he won't be the only actor to take up the mantle. After all, the MCU wants to branch out from previous interpretations, and bringing Hugh and Ryan Reynolds into their timeline might just be a way to drum up publicity. We've already seen hints that there's a superhero with claws, specifically in an episode of She-Hulk, where a newspaper headline briefly mentions someone fitting that description. That means there's already a Wolverine running around in the MCU, and given how obsessed Keanu is with the role, I don't see why Disney would pass up the chance to hire him. Keanu's mentioned his love for Wolverine multiple times, even saying that this is the character he wants to play more than anything else. And there's all sorts of things that make him perfect for the role. Sure, Logan looks like he's in his 40s, and Keanu's gonna turn 60 in 2024, but the man barely ages. He's pulling off massive stunt sequences at an age when most people fall asleep watching TV. So it's safe to say, he has what it takes to pull off a stunning Wolverine. Unfortunately, there's no telling if he'll get to star in his dream role anytime soon, but he's played a superhero before, and he might return to play the same character again. I'm talking about John Constantine. Even though it's been decades since Keanu played him on screen, he recently revealed that there's a chance for a comeback in a Reddit AMA. The first film was an excellent adaptation of one of DC's darker characters, pitting Keanu against demons, angels, and even the devil himself. And ever since he worked on it, he's been trying to get Part 2 made. James Gunn's DCU reboot sets the stage for a bunch of old characters to return to the fold, and Keanu mentioned talking to him about a potential sequel to the 2005 film. Again, it remains to be seen if Keanu gets this project off the ground, but if things work out, he'll add another world-famous character to his already impressive credentials. Constantine's often seen working with the Justice League Dark, which handles supernatural and mystical threats that the regular Justice League isn't aware of. Batman's another famous member of the JLD, as is Wonder Woman. So if Gunn's serious about making a proper DCU, he'll want to incorporate John Constantine to some degree. When that happens, he'd better give Keanu a call, cause the guy's earned a sequel after owning the role in the first movie. Now there's one last project to look forward to from Keanu, and it'll bring him back to his action star roots. He's gonna be playing yet another assassin in the upcoming miniseries Reign. And funnily enough, this character's named John too. More specifically, John Reign. The show's eponymous character apparently kills for a living, but unlike John Wick, he's a bit more concerned about covering his tracks. Reign knows exactly how to make his assassinations seem like natural deaths, so there's a few things to set this role apart from Baba Yaga. The thing is, this project's been stalled since it was first announced in 2014, maybe because Keanu started playing another murderous John in a wildly successful franchise. The death of his main character in Chapter 4 might move Reign's production along. Of course, Keanu might decide to give the assassin act a rest for a while, though I sincerely hope he finds the time to bring Reign to the screen before too long. So from adding another contract killer named John to his acting credentials with Reign, to his rumored return to the role of John Wick in Chapter 5, these were the upcoming roles Keanu Reeves needs to be in.